Ladies and gentlemen, now we come back to the PCS with what I think could be the best matchup of the night, J-Team versus DCG. A quick reminder, night start, before we introduce and get into this. PCS is sponsored by CDBC Bank. Thank you to Riot Games, Carry Live, and Garena for PCS League operation in full. Now, night start, this matchup, an important one considering that we have our second versus our third team. Well, tied third, I should say. DCG, after coming off the loss against Dewish team, got some questions to answer, and I feel like for J-Team, this team is what people are considering the second best at the moment, but recently lost to CDBC Flying Oyster, so there's a lot of questions to answer there too.
Yeah, for J-Team, this is a squad that has been really, really good in general. They've just kind of dropped the one game against PSG Talon. Again, I think while J-Team are stronger than PSG in most aspects of the game, what they do struggle in sometimes is the team fight, which is exactly where PSG excel. However, in this game, I don't think that will necessarily be an issue. And I think more of the focus is going to be on the lane phase portion where J-Team are stronger than DCG. Let's go ahead, take a look at DCG. I mean, all across the board, no changes. Leaky, Hana, Nesty, Cascada, Woody. I think the focal point has been the fact that DCG have returned to going for quirky things in the draft, which has been really their trademark.
True. Things like Seraphina coming through. I feel like we've had more Swain out of Nesty than expected by anyone else. Hana, still the Belveth on our minds. After bringing it out, is still the only person to bring out Belveth in the league, which is well and truly enabled. So, there's a lot to talk about their drafts. I feel like it was their identity last split more so, but yeah, again, there's still these little pocket picks making its way through. As you said, their laning, though, can be punished quite well, and you were telling me a little bit about J-Team and how that's their strength coming through, especially when we start looking at the jungle position, when we start looking over the other side, as I'm sure we'll see their roster momentarily. Like Kongyue and Uniboy, dude, as they come up on our screen now, are looking like the best mid-jungle in the league.
Yeah, Kongyue and Uniboy, definitely very dominating, and they play very, very well around each other as a duo. Now, when you look over at PSG, Gory and Bury, Gory's definitely out on his own, doing his own thing, and Bury is kind of just dragged around the map, kind of trying to make sure his lanes are safe. Whereas when you look at Kongyue and Uniboy, they make plays as a duo. This is when they get leads, they go around together and really punish you with those leads. As it does look like Uniboy is, looks like he's playing from home. So everyone else is in the office. But yeah, for J-Team, it's about the lane phase and really just snowballing afterwards. And when you are a worse team in the lane phase, you better watch out because J-Team will take you by storm.
Yeah, with Uniboy rising to the occasion this year, coming back into the PCS, I feel like it's worth mentioning that as a mid laner, people have looked at his laning phase as one of the most devastating, maybe alongside people like Mission. And, even Driver is someone who I think has just been on the tip of my mind when I'm looking at top laners as well. Him and Rock have been fun to watch. We haven't seen as much of Driver this split as we have of Rock. However, we're not talking about top lanes. We're looking at the bottom side of the map at supports because the champion pool, although it overlaps a little bit, we have some directional changes, and Enzo and Woody is a fun little matchup.
Yeah, and they kind of serve different roles on their squad, with Woody being more of a secondary engage, where he's really hoping Hana or Nesty is that big primary engage, and if he's given the opportunity to find the perfect follow-up play, more oftentimes than not, he does end up being able to find it. However, when he's put on primary engage, he can struggle a little bit. Whereas on the flip side, for Enzo, it feels like he's more of that primary engage for his squad. So he's going to be tasked with the Nautilus, or he's going to be the one to initiate fights with the Nami ultimate or the Renata ultimate, rather than being the second ultimate cast, which would be more so for the case of Woody.
Yeah, so it feels like, you know, for those support picks, and priority for something like the Renato needs to be discussed, needs to be looked at for this coming game. We're just dealing with some technical issue, folks, so we're not getting into pick and ban just yet, but momentarily we'll be getting there. At the very least, for J-Team versus Deep Cross Gaming, as we were saying before, this should be a top-tier matchup, even with the recent losses that may have come unexpected or may have slowed down tempo. I think the biggest thing for me is that for J-Team, watching the Kongyue Uniboy dynamic, as you were just talking about before, develop, start of spring, there was nothing there. Like, Kongyue and Uniboy were very rusty. But as time went on, later half of the spring split, J-Team had their resurgence. And, you know, coming into summer, again, J-Team have looked like a top 3 team. So I feel like with this development back on track and giving us reminiscence of, like, some of the Mad days, they are the strongest part of the map where, as you said, for Deep Cross Gaming, it's like, all right, it's not about laning, it's a lot about these skirmishes, like kind of these like really bloody like 3-on-3, 4-on-4s. And, you know, with this same roster they've been running the whole split, it seems like they have a lot of options in draft, as we know that it's pretty hard to ban out DCG.
Yeah, for DCG, it's really about the coordination plays. And if you're caught off guard by those kinds of plays, that's where DCG really takes you for a ride. Whereas for the side of J Team, you know, they're very much about brute force tactics. They're very in your face during the lane phase, and when they get leads, they make sure to let you know they have leads, because they will get more and more aggressive in trying to kill you. So it's definitely very different game plans coming in from both of these squads. And it's most highlighted by just how the jungle mid dynamic works, right? We talked about Korean and Uniboy, whereas on the flip side, for the side of DCG, when it comes to Hana and Nesty picks these facilitator mid laners like the Swain or the Seraphine, and Hana is just kind of tasked with making sure his lanes get to stand tall.
Sure, at least get to that point. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been told these issues aren't resolved yet, so we are going to have a short break. When we return, we'll be jumping into J-Team versus DCG. Don't go anywhere.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 370 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
The dams are about to break. I don't care what they say. I'm more than they can take, but they don't see the struggle in my mind. And I just think of stopping all the time, but I can't. I'll make my journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, apologies for the delay. Welcome back to the PCS here, sponsored by CTBC Bank. We're about to jump into picks and bans. There was a technical issue on the side, and that seems to be resolved. So we're about to be jumping into pick and ban for J-Team versus DCG. Now, Nightstar, a little while ago, we were talking about how for J-Team, the lanes are going to be the pivotal point here. Jungle pick as well, especially for Kongyue, seems to be a priority. We're on the other side for Deep Cross Gaming. We want to see how they get to these mid games, these solid mid to late games. and kind of play the map a little bit better, I think it's fair to say, because when you think of Nesty, you think about his support spirit in that mid lane, always needing to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's about him being able to be more impactful, whether it's in the team fights or just roaming around the map. For Hana, they are... I feel like he's been sucked into the Viego too many times here, where I feel like he needs to be more on the Trundle or the Poppy to make sure he can just stabilize his lanes. As we're into pick and ban, the bans are through, or 2/3 of the way done. Already taken off the board, I think, is a really good ban from DCG. Uniboy's been really devastating on this pick, and it's one of those picks that you can really just destroy the map with. So trying to limit Uniboy's impact is going to be a key factor.
But I wonder if the Sars is going to be the last ban, right? Because we get Poppy through for Kongyue, which is an old classic of the Mad days, especially with Poppy coming back into the meta. You know, for J-Team, when we know mid lane is such a priority.
Kalista left open.
Uniboy still has things like the Silas. Yeah, Kalista's there, but will you still take it as DCG with the Renata band away?
The Philios might be their answer, because they know Lil V is a bit of an Aphelios aficionado. He's been incredibly reliant on the pick, and Aphelios does well into Kalista. So while Kalista is going to have early tempo in the lane, has kill pressure during the lane phase, and also you're able to play around those early dragons, having the Kalista execute, it does struggle later on once the Aphelios does get to 2 and 3 items. However, J-Team looks like they want to go a different direction. Lucian locked in, so clearly this is going to be looking at the Nami pick, but perhaps they'll go ahead and save it for R3, just knowing that, hey, most likely Aphelios Nami isn't going to come through. They'll probably pair it something else, and they'll go ahead and, okay, this Taliyah pick would be really key, because Nesty on the Taliyah, while he hasn't done much damage roaming with the pick, has been absolutely devastating in these objective setups. So I actually like this denial pick away from DCG.
Yeah, and at the very least, you know, getting Uniboy onto something that he's played before, but more importantly, can start matching the roams of Nesty if he gets out of lane. You're right, denial is a great word for it, because it's been the second most played, actually tied for first most played, and the best champion for Nesty this split.
Swain currently hovered. If it gets locked in here, I like the pick. Makes sense for Nesty. Gets to a very, very cheap power spike, so he doesn't have to be he doesn't necessarily have to be even in lane. He can be a little bit behind. And the Lulu here to stabilize the Aphelios lane, if it ends up being a Nami, you have some trade power to match. Obviously not quite the same as the burst potential coming in from Lucian Nami, but the scaling is going to be much better coming in from Lulu, especially when you can just throw down all your spells onto a Swain that's just going to control a lot of the space for this Lucian to try and operate in.
Yeah, this is what we said for J-Team. You know, it's already drafting out the way we expected. Lanes are set up for success. For DCG, grouping up as a unit. That's going to be what we're looking towards with the draft already outlaid. You can see, we knew this was coming around, as you said, left for that third pick on the red side. Now we just got to see what gets left around for Driver and for Kongyue. We don't have a jungle on either side too, so a couple of opportunities for DCG to start banning away things like the Kongyue's Viego, you said. Trundle we've seen today is a high priority. The Wukong has made it all the way through here so far.
Yeah, and I think we should look for attention towards this Trundle for Kongyue. Really augments this early laning power coming in from bot lane, and also the roam capabilities coming in from this mid lane. Whereas for DCG, I think it's more about getting a good matchup for Leaky. So if they can somehow, if J-Team go ahead and blind pick their top lane, I think that's a bit of a mistake here, and it allows DCG an avenue to try and have a winning lane to play through.
wonder if they go back to something like the Mordekaiser. Leaky's played that a couple of times already. Nah is not available. GP's not available. Jax is being banned away. Usually teams that are, banning Jax, usually indicating things like the Camille to be played. Gwen as well. Gives you a little bit of insight there. So kind of curious to see what DCG get through, as you said, picking top here for J-Team would be a bit of a mistake. So we get jungle, top counter pick here for J-Team. Well, DCG need to show us what their top lane bans allude to.
Yeah, here I feel like you're just going to go ahead, blind pick the Sejuani, and then you'll just go ahead and pair maybe the Xin to try and just carve out space for your affiliates to operate. I think that makes the most sense here. It also takes away space from the Lucian to really operate and get into that back line. As we know, Lucian can struggle to fight front to back. If he gets snowball ahead, well, that's a different matter, but I think it's just so difficult to navigate around a Xin Sejuani combination that they should just definitely lock it in. Could be an Udyr. Udyr would be interesting. Trundle gives them some more early game presence. And it's also going to help try and section champions off with that pillar.
Yeah, so we get some zone control. We get some of that pick potential. Driver flexing the Leaky pick in front of him right now. Giving a lot of options here. And, when J-Team have run Rock, we've seen the Gragas top. Driver's played things like Aatrox, Gwen. He's only played 3 individual games, and now he's going to be out of Gragas of his own. So we have tank versus tank in the top lane, but we have a lot of mobility on the side of J-Team here and the ability to affect sides. I mean, this is something that needs to move fast, Nightstar.
Now, for the side of J-Team, this plays exactly to how they want to play, right? Strong lanes. And for DCG, it's mostly about the team fight, but they also pair it up with an early game jungler to try and stabilize these lanes, maybe burn a couple flashes. That's going to be really key for DCG in order to stabilize. But if this game does get to the mid game 2 or 3 items without a significant lead for J-Team, I do favor the DCG composition a lot more.
Yeah, true. I mean, keep it plain and simple, right? DCG getting through the lanes. And I feel like we talked about it, like laning phase is not their strength, but we know that DCG, a lot of the time in spring, we talked about their early game and we talked about how they could move across the map and get things going. I mean, this time around, they don't have the Talia for themselves. That's on Uniboy. So I'm worried about this 6 mark. I'm worried about them keeping things slow when for DCG, we know that, going up against some of these better teams, like when we saw against Jewish team, it was like, well, they're kind of, not oblivious, Nightstar, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of caught with their pants down a little bit. And against J-Team, hopefully that doesn't happen again, because this is our most competitive matchup of the night, and DCG are still tied 3rd. They're still 6-3. J-Team only just above them 7-2. This is a 2nd versus 3rd matchup, and it sure as hell feels like it's going to play out in that way.
Yeah, they were definitely surprised by Jewish team, and against J-Team, they really can't afford to get surprised because there's definitely plenty of tools on the side of J-Team to catch people out. You have the wall, you also have the Gragas barrel, so look for those tools to be really pivotal in these objective fights to cut off Cascada from the rest of his team. If he gets isolated, he might just get picked off, or he just won't be able to help out the rest of his squad. I like this level 1. If you get a kill onto the Lucian or Nami, or just burn a summoner, that is massive. But yeah, kind of showed their hand, unfortunately.
Yeah, Never Move comes out from Nesty, thinking about the first brush, but Enzo with a safe bit of position. Lil V as well, sitting in the river. And just like that, J-Team know that the commitment to the 4-man bot is over. For DCG, they're going to lose some vision control on the top side because of it as well. So it will be good tracking here from Hana, who is actually going to be starting on the top side, but so is Kongyue, pathing down to this Lucian Nami lane that we talk so much about being a bit of a priority for J-Team.
Yeah, and no one's going to be focusing their time up in this top side either, right? Because it's Sejuani versus Gragas. While there can be opportunities to find a kill, like, let's be real. There's so much disengage.
Thanks.
All right, there we go. There's so much disengage coming in from Gragas. You have the mobility coming in from Sejuani. Really, it's going to be a difficult time to really try and snowball one of these lanes, especially.
Yeah.
Much less just get one kill onto these champions.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, the camera will go up there a little bit. We know take versus take matchups, as Uniboy's actually already got the shove out in the mid lane here as well. Camera seems to be a little bit peeled. Yeah, he is level 2.
Probably
so,
the EXP from clearing out the ward.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was
Did
in
he take
range.
blue? Surely not. Did he take a camp? Because to get level 2...
Oh, well, he did
Well,
path over to the blue buff, though.
He did. He
So-
passed away.
Yeah.
We'll see. At the very least, you know,
You know?
it's a couple of minion waves. Doesn't have the blue buff. So, guess I missed that one in my span, as Uniboy does hit level 3 first. Remember, the minion wave was shoved in. Nesty going to be able to match it. And you're right, wasn't the ward taken? I don't know. We have to look at the VODs for that one.
Yeah, definitely slipped past us there. Regardless, both of these junglers pathing towards bot lane, and for good reason, right? Because you have a Lucian Nami. That will always be a big focal point.
Yep.
If this Lucian Nami gets ahead, you know, they can definitely raffle stomp a lane from there. However, if they don't, the Aphelios Lulu just feels like a better combination throughout the rest of the game, besides the first maybe 8 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's level 3 as well for these bottom lane, just meanwhile. That for Lil V and Enso, the all-in with Lucian Nami is the best point. For DCG, their bottom lane, as it pushes out, I mean, Kongyue is nowhere nearby, and the bottom lane is so well warded, so really good defensive vision here from DCG. And as Kongyue heads up to the top side, he'll just be looking for this Scuttle Crab as a response, where it will be a 1-for-1. So Kongyue nowhere near the lane he wants to be, but just farming away as any Viego main would.
Yeah, and the reason why we haven't seen as much success coming out from Viego in the PCS has been mostly because of the fact that Viego feels much more of a win more champion in the PCS, because he doesn't really offer a ton of early game pressure, especially compared to the other big junglers that you would see in something like the Poppy or the Trundle. And he doesn't quite have the same impact as something like a Wukong, who has that big level 6 that we all know and look out for. Once he gets to that, he has that big team fight impact. Viego doesn't quite have that, but if your lanes are really strong, you know, in that first fight, you're just going to be bouncing around with those resets and then snowballing those fight wins.
Ooh, good trade in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, though, Chris Carter and Woody, great poke. I mean, the Lucian Nami lane is not going well to kick things off with Lil V and Enso. Woody and Chris Carter putting a number on them. Yeah, utilizing that range well.
Yeah, and that has been... Woody is probably one of the few better enchanter players in the league. Doesn't really look that great on main engage, as I mentioned before, but when he gets to play back and search for the perfect play, more often than not, he will be able to find those big impactful plays for his squad. And this is a great start for the duo of Criscato Woody, having this Aphelios Lulu combination that is going to outscale the Lucian Nami, and you're able to hold lane. That's fantastic.
Cycling in on Nessie's level 6. I didn't find out, by the way, Nightstar. Yeah, I didn't find out how that happened. I mean, we got to work past it, of course, but yeah, that's one that's just perplexing me. He hits level 6 here, matching up with Uniwa, and we talked a little bit about how J-Team can accelerate the game. There's a 10 CS lead in the mid lane. Nesty now trying to get the shove as Never Move doesn't connect once again, but Uniboy, as he cycles through, remember the Dragon's up and J-Team are already moving down.
Oh, they are trapped.
They are.
They are trapped.
I mean, Flash might have to come through from Nami, E over the wall for Lil V, so it's only one summoner, but it's early on the Dragon that causes them to burn it, and DCG get priority.
Yeah, this is a great look. However, they still want to fish for this.
But is it going to be too much? Kongyue is only level 5, so those resets we talked about not going to come through. Nesty has himself the Demon Flare available. Never Move connects, but the Weaver's Wall cuts off J-Team. The Weaver's Wall from Uniboy wasn't good as Nesty flashes away. They still want to take the fight. Lil B is isolated himself. Uniboy's ultimate just didn't get the right idea across.
Not quite the wall I was looking for coming in from Uniboy. Definitely missed its mark. And yeah, there was really just no angle for the side of J-Team to find that fight. However, at the same time, they are still up in gold. And part of the reason why is because the top half of the map is doing well for themselves. Small CS lead for Driver, small CS lead for Kongyue, and more importantly, over a 20 CS lead in this mid lane. Uniboy definitely doing work in this mid lane, kind of what we expect. However, when you are playing that Talia, you have to be able to find these roam plays to really get the maximum out of this pick.
Yeah, as we said, accelerating the game, so I feel like the Dragon is that much more influential that's been taken away by DCG. It's only a 300 gold lead or 400 at this point for J-Team 2. So the game hasn't really exploded yet, but as we said, those ultimates are now available. Uniboy uses first one in front of the Dragon, and it's going to be more about where he can move when the second one comes up and available. As Hana's now level 6 as well, positioning himself down the bottom side, while with this Herald now spawning too, kind of be looking towards this pivot from J-Team and seeing what they can do, but Kongyue is coming in mid. Flash W. This mid jungle was our selling point, and now both of them have just gotten us perplexed.
That's a big swing and a whiff. They're coming in from Kongyue. Is level 6, so, you know, he has the potential to start popping off in these fights, and his skirmishing potential definitely jumps off him a lot more. And you're not worried about him burning that flash because he still has the ultimate to get out of dodge if anything does get a little bit messy. However, it certainly just doesn't look good. And for J-Team, out to an 800 gold lead, DCG have, it looks like they have the first angle onto this Rift Herald, and J-Team, they're not in a position to contest. Because for Kongyue, because of how this bot lane has played out, this Lucian Nami has not been finding good damage onto the Lulu affiliates because they're just outranged. It's pulled a lot more attention from the Viego than really he wants to throw attention to.
Yeah, like the response not big enough. Kongyue's flash being down to meaningful, and one turret plate for the cost of the Herald, which it is always going to be two, or even taking a turret down depending on the situation. So for J-Team, again, this early game hasn't been as clean as we kind of expected. We're looking at Driver on the top side. We can ignore that for now because Hana is on his way up, so Driver won't be able to be too aggressive. And we just got to keep tracking and see what happens gearing around towards the second Dragon, because J-Team will have their eyes on that. And this Lucian Nami needs to get off the ground because Chris Carter and Woody have just had too safe and too great of a laning phase.
I think Lil V also has a cloth armor in his inventory.
Okay. Tabi's incoming, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a cloth armor. He's really worried when... I mean, there's so much magic damage piled in on the side of DCG. Right? Because you have the magic damage threat coming in from Swain and from Lulu. That's a lot of the harass he's taking in this lane phase. However, he's gone for the cloth armor to try and mitigate the Cascada damage, which I would say is not the majority of damage he's taking in the lane right now. Maybe it helps him stand up a little bit more in this lane phase. But the issue is that's 300 gold that's not getting a ton of value here for him.
Not getting much value anywhere else. As Hana with a pillar in mid. Never Move's going to get Uniboy, but now for this 2v2 to kick off, Kongyue jumps on in, remembering the Heartbreaker is available but not used. So they stop the Herald play. For DCG wanting to open up mid 30 seconds before Dragon. They get the setup, but they do take a heavy chunk before this objective next spawns.
Yeah, and DCG do get first access into the river, which is definitely an improvement because again, their loss to Jewish team was them always late to these objective fights, and they end up getting caught against the Meganar time and time again. This time around, no Meganar, but if they're late to these fights, they'll just get cut off by the Talia wall, right? So they don't make that mistake here, and they're able to secure themselves a second dragon. That is massive.
I feel
for their
like
chances.
J-Team are just, I don't know.
They don't know
it's
what
not-
to do after
which-
their bot lane loses its heart.
Which doesn't make that sense. And it's not like bot lane is like losing out that hard, right? But the bottom lane going even is, yeah, it counts as a loss with what you consider as, you know, Licky and Driver. We keep watching topside. Let's wait a bit. Permafrost is going to come through. Licky has Ignite, but Driver mitigates a lot of the damage. And, you know, Driver didn't have TP available. He didn't start walking down. J-Team now 2 dragons down. And having that in DCG's pocket, even if J-Team get the next 3 dragons, we are looking at, what, at least 15 extra minutes on top of now 27, 28-minute Dragon Soul up for the taking. Sorry, 30-something minute Dragon Soul if J-Team are the ones to pick it up. So no matter what, DCG in such a great position in this game, as you were saying. And it's going swimmingly. No kill yet, but hey, for DCG fans out there, you'd be so happy just watching all this gold funnel into Chris Carter, piece by piece.
Woo. Man, 3 plates worth of gold just flipped into the Trundle affiliates. That's going to feel really, really good here. And when we talk about this J-Team composition, most of it is front-loaded, right? The Lucian, the Nami, the Talia. It's all about this early mid-game. And the early game has not stuck, which means their timing window in this mid-game just shrinks all the more.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you know, for J-Team, let's see Uniboy get out onto the map, because I feel like that's what we've been asking to see so many times. They're now moving down, but Hana's still here. He's been in the right place at the right time quite a lot in this game. Driver's getting turret plates, but it's like, well, even though this is a Night Harvester Gragas up in the top side, who cares? You know, who cares at this point? Gold lead is only 500 for J-Team. The Dragon's still scary. You know, the Herald got its play. We got another one up in a minute. And for DCG, they're still in a comfortable position. We can see the plating on the bottom side of our screen. DCG actually got more with the extra plate going down thanks to the Herald charge. So still looking really good here. We'll have to watch and see if J-Team can get that fight that we've been waiting for. Maybe the pick-off here, Nightstar, before Herald spawns.
Yeah, and before we get into the next objective fight, I just want to highlight the items that have been completed, right? We've seen a change of itemization coming in from Hana. He's gone, instead of the Divine Sunder, he has the Iceborne Gauntlet, or Frostfire Gauntlet. And on the flip side, Konya, he's went ahead and rushed the Kenpunk Chainsword. So he's just trying to get maximum power right now, because he knows he needs that power now rather than later.
Oh no, this side's just going to go down. Cullen coming through the dive.
Wave
He's going to
coming through.
turn into a
Driver
3v2.
on the backside.
The TP's good, but Chris Carter now has all the shurikens. Explosive cast better from Driver. Misses the body slam though.
They can't get
and
to
he
him though.
goes over the wall. Driver botches it as Nesty is in the middle of everyone. This demon flare is going to explode, and
They just don't
now
have
the
damage.
Uniboy DCG group up and become fire yet again.
And it's just these 5-man plays that DCG are going to excel at in this composition from J-Team.
Why? What is J-Team doing? This is meant to be one of the best teams, and I've cast J-Team through spring and summer, watching them develop. This J-Team just ain't it.
And the weakness comes from the bot lane once again. We saw them struggle in the playoffs when Enzo and Lil V have been targeted, namely Lil V, and that ends up being sort of their downfall here. Driver, like, he finds a good barrel, but unfortunately, you know, where they tunnel in, the side of J-Team can't get access to finish off that kill onto Cascada besides Driver, and all of his damage is just front-loaded onto the barrel proccing the Night Harvester. So I mean, he tries his best, but unfortunately can't finish the job onto Cascada, and as a result, well, DCG, they're able to win out because Nesty gets a good angle, He's able to soak up a lot of damage because he's just drain tanking, and yeah, I don't know what more you want said here. J-Team, they are on the back foot, and it is not a good look. However, they do have early priority on this bot river area.
Well, the only concern right now is the fact that Chris Carter has another BF sword. His ultimate almost up and available. J-Team are making a play, and this will be good.
Don't face check,
if
don't
Hunter
face
walks in, but now already spotted out. A good vision of Empire. And
Oh,
J-Team about to
Sejuani?
get pinched. The Glacial Prison onto Drivers there.
Not great.
But Leaky a little bit early. So as Driver takes that ulti, that's one little picking piece that for DCG will be down. And for J-Team wanting this dragon desperately, maybe it's enough to give them confidence for the 5v5.
Skada throwing out the turrets over the wall just to make sure no one comes in with the Hex Gate. And he's actually going into the mid lane.
Yeah, he just showed. He's coming back. He's got the ulti.
Wall comes over. Wall's good.
Wall zones them off. Chris Carter will be over, but he has the range here with the ulti. And Uniboy's just caught out by Leaky. Great little Glitterland from Woody. As Drivers now pulled in. The coordination
They're all
from
dead.
DCG is so good. Kongyue walking into certain death, it feels like, and Permafrost enables the slowing down.
Oh, Lil B.
Nessie coming through. Woody still not dying to Lil B. Lucian Nami yet again falling flat, as that's what J-Team are doing in this game. 0 turrets, 0 kills, 0 hope at 18 minutes. Deep Cross Gaming up, perfect gaming. J-Team.
Sterix.
No more Talia for Uniboy. I don't care. No more Talia for Uniboy. The first time he played it looked great, but whatever's going on here with the Gragas too.
Yeah, I mean, they just don't have damage. They missed their timing window, and now when you're forced into a front-to-back situation, I mean, it looks bad. It looks real bad.
Yeah.
Lil B on this Lucian. What does he even do? Look at this entire time. He's just hoping and praying that someone walks into him, and then he flashes forward to try and kill a Lulu. Like, brother, killing a Lulu doesn't change that fight at all whatsoever. And investing a flash, definitely, or investing a big cooldown like the Gale Force, I should say, is going to possibly open him up to get really dunked on in the next couple of seconds.
I just feel like at this point, J-Team are trying to throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. Which you can't blame them for doing. And Uniboy's ult in that last fight wasn't the worst, like, let's be real, but it's just been so rough to watch. You know, J-Team set up for these 5v5s against a team that, you know, has this Sejuani Trundle. You look at all the tools for DCG, and you're like, it's so easy for them to play standard 5v5s, where for J-Team, these explosive casts have been great, but then the wall comes in, it's like, you know, Uniboy maybe should have started with the pig. It needs Kongyue to get the reset. They're not getting these quick burst trades off, and DCG all the better for it. As you can see now, at least J-Team are going to be getting 2 turrets out of it with objective bounty, but the DCG look for the dive here. Driver's sitting here with an explosive cast, but yeah, the pillar comes through. Enzo's coming in. This might be a little bit too deep for Hana as a good Aqua Prison too. A TP coming up, and Hana is going to die. Under the turret, it goes to Kongyue too, and DCG, just like that, have given away a lot of gold when we were criticizing J-Team to the wall.
That said, it's a lot invested to try and pick up a jungler. And unfortunately, they aren't able to try and snowball any objectives afterwards. However, okay, Woody might help out.
But this can be turned around. I mean, Chris Carter's got Lulu by his side. Look at him. Felios ult comes through the range there as well.
Here comes the
Sending
wall.
in Uniboy, though. The wall this time pretty good. That's a seismic shove to 2-man. I'm sorry, Uniboy. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. You can play Talia again, as this time the impact is felt. And with the objective bounties before, with the picks, J-Team suddenly back in the game. Forget what we said. One big play turns it around with Baron now being started.
Yeah, and there's no ultimate on the Swain, so this is such a hard fight to try and execute. Leaky has to do so much.
Driver's got ult and he sent Leaky away.
Oh,
The damage
Uniboy's
will be
tanking.
enough for J-Team. I mean, for Lil B walking through, he doesn't have the damage himself, so Baron won't be taken, but still, J-Team have equalized gold. They've gotten a couple of kills for themselves. They might not get Baron, but at least in this mid-game, there's still hope for this team to find another pick like that again.
And this team is all about the picks at the moment because they have great single target damage. They just can't take 5v5s. Because then when it comes to trying to eat up some of these frontline champions, that's where they lack the damage. However, when it comes to just isolating one champion, you have great tools to do so, right? You have the Gragas Barrel, the Talia wall, and then you can just dash forward with a lot of freedom as that Lucian pick if you are able to isolate that one target with those aforementioned ultimates.
Yeah, like so many good targets too. 2.5 items here on Uniboy, by the way, worth mentioning because, you know, I sold him out in this game. I said that, oh, well, Uniboy, I don't want to see him on Talia. But then the Sweeper's Wall comes through, Nightstar, and J-Team baiting this nicely and catching DCG in a bit of a choke.
Yeah, honestly, it was a really good bait play coming in. Buy as much time. Now Uniboy able to join the fight. Of course, he can join these fights really, really quickly because he is Talia. It doesn't change the fact that Lulu Aphelios is still Omega oppressive at this point in the game, so they need to continue to fish for these picks.
Well, Kongyo with his ankle is going to start it off. Uniboy once again has the ultimate, and 35 seconds before Dragon, if Soul goes over, then I think DCG just have it in the bag, but if J-Team can delay it, if they can pick themselves up, you know, the Baron in response, or maybe one of those picks again, Nightstar, everything changes here. As Hana is going to be taking down the ward over the side. Kongyo thinking about going in. While we still 5v5 in the mid lane. Driver with the ulti. That's the one who's helping getting the pick started, but he's going to be launched on first. Tidal Wave through. Driver wanted an angle, but they started with him. Ignite, subjugate, and down he goes. DCG making a 5v4 before we even begin. And as J-Team walking through the pillars, right, the never move. You can't be there. J-Team have lost two, and it just feels like we're once back again. Back to the start. This game looks DCG's all over again.
Okay, Leaky gets caught out. He's still Sejuani though, which is the core issue. And for DCG, now they have Hextech Soul obtained, Cascada. Okay, the wall comes through, cuts off Hana, but no one really cares. The Trundle is not the core target you're going to collapse upon, but teleport coming through. They want to try and flip.
You have to throw everything in.
They have no jungler
at this point for J-Team. No jungler, but can they get the 4v5? Nesty gets the never move once again as Dragon. Baron is going down. Driver with a great ulti. Lil B trying to carry the fight. Now over the wall. Kongyo is going to be here just in time. Driver and Chris got to fight it out while the steal comes through. Kongyo had just respawned, beelined it to Baron, and stole it to keep J-Team going, if only for a little bit longer.
Ooh, that was a very necessary steal coming in from Kongyo that keeps their hopes and dreams alive. Unfortunately, it's still DCG coming out for the majority, for the most part, on top. They get themselves a Hextech Soul. They also get to multiple kills in that instance. And this is really their last gasp play coming in from J-Team. They needed to find something off of this play, and at the very least, they find themselves a Baron buff as Kongre. It really helps. Hex Gates get him there just in time to make this play for DCG. They wanted to just reset the objective here, right? They don't want to risk the flip, but because they've kept the aggro going for such a long time, Kongre is just in time to snag it away.
It's rough watching that DCG Baron. This should be their game. They've still got the Hextech Soul. But for J-Team, getting the Baron means the objective's going to be hard to push. Rather these turrets that we're talking about in the mid lane. It still looks so hard, right? But, I mean, at the very least, another big team fight. You look at all the objective bounties that are available for J-Team. Getting some gold into this Lucian, into this Talia. I don't know, Nightstar. I still feel like a massive piece of copium has to be taken here for J-Team, but
yeah,
let's see.
The only thing I have to add is the itemization isn't really helping the Copium. We have Chem Tank coming in from Kongrye. Interesting choice. And also the Collector from Lil V isn't going to do a whole lot against these very durable frontline champions of the Trundle, who's running the Frostfire.
He's going into LDR as well. Like, there's Collector and LDR.
Yeah, this is a very hopeful build that doesn't do a whole lot. Maybe he goes for Sereldas just to actually offer some sort of utility and help facilitate getting a pick, but
why? What? I mean, I don't know. Why
there
go
are a lot of
Collector and
questions.
then LDR? Like, you know, usually it's one or the other. You commit to lethality against some of these squishier comps. I don't know. Nightstar, my stream seems to be doing the dance again. So if we
That's
get a
okay.
fight, you're gonna have to do the play-by.
All right. We'll wait to get you back in here. But as it stands, 13-3 DCG have the lead, and okay, looks like we might have a fight. Wave does come out. Okay, great time.
Hey, but yeah, I mean, look, you know, we can have a conversation about items if this game goes long enough to talk a little bit about, you know, when Lil V finally gets the third one. But for DCG, they have control of the map right now. That Baron taken by J-Team was good. The gold short up, but as Nightstar already told you, DCG well and truly came online. This is a 3 and a bit item of Felios. Side lanes, no problem. As J-Team look to capitalize here with the Weaver's Wall up and available, Kongrye is beelining it here with the Chem Tank on this Viego. But Hana just says nope, and DCG continue to walk out, and J-Team can't close the gap.
Yeah, and there's just not enough range from the side of J-Team to try and find these plays. As we also get to take a look at top lane, man, there is a stark difference in these items. Look at the items on Leaky. This is a big old boar. And then you compare Driver's itemization. He is working on some leftovers as they're trying to funnel the gold, as much gold into their Collector Lucian as possible. I think he has his Last Whisper item. Yeah, he does get the Sereldas, so we'll have the extra slow attach.
Okay.
But still, that's their only range.
Yeah.
Is just the culling. That's it, Hysterics.
Yeah. So Sereldas comes through. I mean, honestly, at least it's Serelda. I feel like I can verify Lil V a little bit more. But, you know, we're looking for this solution at 1-2 items. We're now at 3 item of Felios, so it feels like for Chris Carter, now with the stopwatch, going to be so comfortable, luring J-Team into this Elder fight in 10 seconds.
Man.
And
they are
look at
kind
the
of
angles.
trapped.
Yeah, they are a little bit. I mean, trapped if they want to go for the objective. They're going to take the long way around, but
Okay.
DCG still, they're going to be looking to start this one up while Kongrye charges in first, but
Frescata's not here.
yeah. And Union Boy's a bit far away. Has the Weaver's Wall. Frescata was just setting up the mid wave. Pillar onto Lil V once again, has never moved. Gets Driver, who's trying to frontline, but as Nesty flashes forward, disengage begins, the flash now comes through, and that barrel only further seals the doom. Hana is getting targeted, but as he flashes away, this enemy Jumblin subjugates and still lives on. A messy fight, but it doesn't matter as Chris Carter keeps
They're on the wrong side of the map.
They're on the wrong side of the rift. The TP at short range, as Munchables would call it, advanced tech splash. Chris Carter goes golden, and DCG got this in the bag. Kongrye will get his reset, but this game has felt over for a long time, and J-Team have been outclassed at every angle. Uniboy running for his life, but that should be Elder, and that should be the final nail in the coffin, as Uniboy will be zoned away, and Leaky will end up eventually getting this kill.
He's gonna burn him.
Ah, he's BMing him. Oh!
Oh.
Wait.
Oh.
Wait. Hey, okay.
Oh. You know what? I almost thought the BM went too far, but it was just enough. It was just perfect, Saracen. the end result is sort of as we've expected, even though the gold lead isn't that much, right? DCG only up 2.5k, but it also just shows you the difference in their composition building. For DCG, like, this is all about the 5v5. And for J-Team to win these fights, the wall has to be perfect, has to cut off the backline away from this dive. And look at where Talia is. Just nowhere close, trying to deal with that mid-wave pushing into tower, and is forced to use the teleport. And by the time the wall gets here, there's no health bar left.
Like the wall section's off Woody, but everyone on DCG are on the right side of the wall to deal with J-Team. It's hard. I mean, it's very hard at this point. Kongyue trying to do something here on his Bel'Veth build on Viego, and yeah, Baron's going to come through as well. Elder was picked up. This is now the game-ending push. In a matter of minutes, DCG are going to try and burn this one down as J-Team might just have to sit and watch.
Yeah, and what back-to-back games coming in from DCG. They fumbled the game against Jewish team, who were 0-8 at the time, dead last in the league, and now they go ahead, take the scalp of number 2, and get revenge, possibly, for their first round-robin loss.
Tempted wall, like the prison of the turnaround, though. There's the burn from Elder. Leaky just doesn't die. Look at this. I mean, the plate comes up, the shield, beautiful. And Leaky, even though he'll die, the burns keep coming through. Nesty for the next, and this Imperial Mandate Flame is doing enough. Enzo walking up and almost dying as well as the root comes back. The Demon Flare at the ready. And Nesty is taking names, dude. DCG may have been third before this, but they'll tie up with J-Team and make a statement of getting knocked down by Jewish team. J-Team all out of sorts here in this game, but DCG played it clean from the very start.
Clean, clinical execution coming in from DCG. This is what we expect from this team when it comes to leading in team fights. And as you can see in the cams from J-Team, they are not pleased with this result.
Yep.
They never gave themselves a chance. They didn't have that early game jungler to help facilitate that bottom lane, which has to get ahead. And again, reminder, Viego is much more of a win more jungler, and when none of your lanes are winning, well, what are you winning more with?
That's right. No one winning, no walls across the map. Kind of rough to watch because I feel like that was J-Team from week 1 or 2. That to me gave me the vibes that I saw, and when I say week 1 or 2, I mean spring week 1 or 2.
Yep.
Yeah. Like the Kongyue Uniboy that weren't synced up at all. You know, we're looking at item builds that game, and you know, people are building Chempunk first, right? It's very gold efficient. Yes, that's fine. Yes. But it's not like Bel'Veth, where Bel'Veth are building Blade of the Ruined King first and then going Sunfire. Kongyue is like, you know what? I'm gonna try a tank mythic second on my Viego. That's just kind of rough. And
he's got the name synergy going. That was
yeah. Somewhat. I don't know. That game was interesting because for J-Team, like, okay, we know they're not like super proactive in the early game, but also when you draft a comp like that, when it all lays down to the early game Nightstar, your only option is to play hard and fast, and at 10-15 minutes in the game, they weren't coming out with lane advantages really.
Yeah, they had a massive lead in that mid lane, but they couldn't do anything with it because you look on the side lanes, there's just really nothing to attack. You attack a Sejuani, sure, great, you killed the Sejuani. No one cares about that, right? The Gragas isn't all of a sudden just going to explode on the map and dominate the 1v1. And you look bot lane, your Lucian Nami is just getting ground pounded. Sure. So there's not much there to work with. Not much ground to work with, you could say. Yeah. I think, once again, the big highlight on this J-Team, or weakness getting exploited on this J-Team roster, is just the fact that Lil V needs to win lane. If he
Yeah.
doesn't win lane, he really struggles unless if he's on that comfort champion of Ophelia. So teams are just really hard targeting him, and when he's isolated, he doesn't look great.
No, and I don't know. Like we're being really negative on JT, and I feel like, you know, for people that might tune in for the first time and be like, oh, they're really harping on J Team. With better teams in the league, and this happens with LPL a lot too, when they don't look like themselves, you know, you're more critical than you'd be of like a Sem9, of a, you know, like a Hurricane or Dewish team in the league currently, right?
Yeah,
J Team were our second team, and Kongyo and Uniboy praised for their mid-jungle synergy as you were praising them coming into this game. And this time around, there really wasn't any of it, and Uniboy had an off day. I think that's pretty fair to say. And the synergy between top and mid, too, was kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and it's really just a difference of expectations, right? J-Team, we expect a lot from this squad.
Oh, we do.
And against another top team in DCG, they failed to reach any of those expectations. They really fell apart from the get-go. So that's why we have so much disappointment being exuded by ourselves. But Nesty, he gets the MVP. I mean, there was no way to deal with the Swain. He throws up the ultimate, and just so much space created in these fights, facilitating then Cascada to do the Aphelia's things.
Yeah, and Nesty, you know, look at his goal difference, by the way. I'm kind of surprised, but you know, he had Imperial Mandate, so what more do you expect? He has a support item mid. Naturally, he's not gonna have as much gold as someone like Uniboy, but let's be real.
Doesn't need it.
Nesty on one of his favorite champions, Talia gets taken from him, brings out the Swain yet again and has another good time. I mean, I feel like DCG, you know, kind of showed us this time around that their lanes weren't a burden, Nightstar, as we faced them out to be.
Yeah, draft good lanes. That helps out quite a bit.
Yeah.
J-Team, they just couldn't find a way around it. Again, I think it boils down to the jungle picks to be able to facilitate those lanes, and Viego is currently a pick that isn't able to do so.
Yeah, it's not, but look, I don't know. I mean, J-Team need to go back to the drawing board, because I'm not sure what they think about that game, but coming up next, we'll see if Beyond Gaming still have that flair, or Meta Falcon team, if they can build their bridges off the last game for our second last game of tonight. Right after this.